They said tradition would protect me, but tonight, tradition stands at my door. My husband did not come home alone. He brought another wife, and a future I did not choose. In this village, a woman's silence is expected, but my voice will change everything.
A pair of bare feet stood at the doorway of a mud brick house roofed with rusted zinc sheets. The toes were tense, pressing into the cool sand. The lantern light behind them flickered, casting long, trembling shadows across the courtyard. Inside, a young woman held her breath. Her name was Amora. The compound sat at the edge of the village of Obins, where palm trees swayed and crickets stitched the darkness together with their restless song. The air smelled of wood smoke, ripe plantain, and the distant river that had fed the people for generations. Tonight, that air felt heavy. The wooden gate creaked open. Amora's husband, Chaik, stepped in first, clearing his throat. Behind him walked a woman carrying a small blue gonomosgo bag and a bundle wrapped in ochre fabric. Amora's fingers tightened around the edge of her wrapper. So it is true, she whispered to herself. He has brought her. The village had its ways. In Obins, it was an old custom for a man, if his lineage demanded more heirs, to take another wife. They did not call her a side chick. They called her Nwani Nk Abu, the second wife. Legal. Recognized. Protected by tradition. But Amora was only 23. She had been married barely 2 years. She had given Chaik love. She had given him respect. She had given him a daughter. But she had not yet given him a son. And in Obins, sons carried names forward. Chaik avoided her eyes as he spoke. Amora, this is Adis. The other woman lowered her gaze respectfully. Good evening, sister. Sister. The word landed like a stone in Amora's chest. Inside her mind, thoughts raced. So this is how it happens. No warning. No discussion. Just a decision carried on a man's tongue and sealed by elders who will say, it is our way. Her heart pounded so loudly she wondered if they could hear it. Aloud, she said nothing. The silence stretched like a pulled rope. Chaik shifted uncomfortably. My father and the elders have agreed. It is time. We must strengthen our family. Strengthen. Amora looked at Adis. The new woman seemed barely older than her. Fear flickered in her eyes too. This one did not look like a thief of homes. She looked like someone sent into a storm without an umbrella. Amora stepped aside slowly. Come in, she said. Her voice surprised even her. Inside the small sitting room, the walls were decorated with wedding photos. In one frame, Amora and Chaik laughed as palm wine dripped from a calabash during their traditional rites. She remembered that day clearly. The drums. The ululations. Chaik whispering, it will be just you and me. We will build our own kind of home. Had he meant it? Or had tradition always been waiting like a shadow behind the promise? Later that night, the women sat on opposite sides of the room. A kerosene lamp hissed softly between them. Chaik had gone out to drink with friends, celebrating what the men called the wise decision. Amora stared at the flame. Adis broke the silence. I did not ask for this, she said quietly. Amora's eyes snapped up. My mother said it is an honor. That I will be cared for. That I will have security. Her voice trembled. But I saw your face when I entered. and I feel like I have stolen something. Amora swallowed. You did not steal, she replied. You were sent. They looked at each other fully for the first time. In that gaze, there was no rivalry. Only two young women trapped inside a custom older than both of them. The conflict did not erupt in shouting. It simmered. Days passed. The village women visited, pretending curiosity was blessing. Amora, you are lucky, one said. If Addis gives him a son, your position will be secure. Secure. As if her heart were a plot of land. Chek began dividing his time. One night here. One night there. Amora lay awake listening to the creak of the wooden bed in the next room. Each sound felt like a nail hammered into her chest. Her daughter, little Iphigenia, sensed the change. Mama, why is that auntie sleeping in Papa's room? Amora forced a smile. Because this is her home too. But inside she screamed, since when? Addis tried to help around the house. She fetched water. She cooked. She braided Iphigenia's hair. Yet tension hung like harmattan dust. One afternoon, the elders summoned Amora. They sat under the Noku tree in the village square. Daughter, the oldest began, his voice dry as cracked earth, you must accept what has been done. It is tradition. Your husband has not wronged you. Amora felt something rise inside her, something stronger than fear. With respect, she said carefully, does tradition feel pain? The men exchanged glances. She continued, her voice steady but shaking underneath. When I married Chike, no one told me my heart would be divided without my consent. If sons are what matter, am I only a machine for producing them? Murmurs rippled through the onlookers. No young wife had spoken like this before. The elder frowned. Be careful, child. But she was no longer a child. She was a woman who had tasted humiliation and decided it was bitter. That night, a storm rolled in from the river. Thunder cracked the sky open. Inside the house, lightning illuminated the walls in sharp flashes. Amora confronted Chike. Look at me, she demanded. He hesitated. Did you want this? Or did you fear what the village would say? He rubbed his face. You know how it is. My father. I married you. Not your father. Silence. Rain pounded the roof. Chike's voice broke. They said if I do not have a son, our land will pass to my cousin. They said you may never give me one. The word sliced. May never, she whispered. We have been married 2 years. He looked ashamed. In the next room, Addis listened, tears slipping down her cheeks. She had thought she was entering a stable home. Instead, she had stepped into a fracture. The turning point came unexpectedly. Months later, Addis discovered she was pregnant. The village erupted in celebration. Drums. Palm wine. Predictions of a son. Amora felt the old ache return. But something else happened. One evening, Addis fainted while fetching water near the river. Amora ran to her. Without thinking. Without resentment. She held her, shouted for help, carried her back with assistance. At the clinic in the neighboring town, the nurse's face was grave. The pregnancy is complicated, she said. She may not survive delivery without proper care. Chike looked terrified. The elders were silent now. Tradition had no answer for hemorrhage, for mortality, for the fragile thread between life and death. Amora sat beside Adi's hospital bed. "You must not die," she whispered fiercely. "Do you hear me? This story will not end like that." Adi squeezed her hand weakly. "If I give birth to a son, promise me he will not be raised to think women are stepping stones." Amora's eyes filled. "I promise." The day of delivery was long and brutal. Hours of labor, prayers, sweat, blood. At dawn, a baby's cry pierced the ward. A boy. Adi survived, but barely. When Chike held his son, his face crumpled with relief. But something had shifted. He looked at Amora differently now. Not as a woman who had failed him, but as the one who had stood when everything else trembled. Weeks later, under the same knuckle tree, Amora spoke again. "This child will grow in this home," she said. "But so will my daughter. And they will be equal." Some elders protested. Chike raised his hand. "They will be equal," he repeated. It was not a revolution shouted with fire. It was a change planted quietly, like a seed. In time, people began whispering about Obins. About the young wife who questioned tradition. About the husband who listened. About the co-wives who chose cooperation over war. The custom did not disappear overnight. But it bent. Years later, as children played in the courtyard, Amora watched them and Ifinanya chasing her half-brother in circles. Adi sat beside her. "You were strong," Adi said softly. Amora smiled. "No. I was afraid. I just refused to let fear choose for me." The moon rose again over red earth. The same moon that had watched a second woman enter that gate. But now the house beneath it was different. Not perfect. Not without scars. But shaped by voices that once trembled, and then learned to speak. And in Obins, people would tell the story for years. Not of a man who took 2 wives, but of 2 women who turned pain into power, and tradition into something kinder. Thank you for watching. Do well to like, share and subscribe for more storytelling content.